Hey guys, it's Dave again with PeopleLifeParadise.com. Sorry if you can't see me, I'm kind of working short-handed here while my wife is on vacation, but she should be back tomorrow. So that'll be cool. We'll have our camera girl back and everything will be fine. I wanted to talk to you guys today about ammonia. And ammonia, like I think there's this really big misconception about ammonia in the forums. And not everybody does this, but a lot of people really seem to think that ammonia is like this horrible, evil thing. And you know, it is in a way relating to fish, but it also serves a really important purpose in the nitrogen cycle. And there's nothing, you know, we can't avoid it. I mean, it's just waste product. We make it, everything makes it, everything organic makes, you know, the waste, and which, you know, breaks down to ammonia. So there's no getting around it in that regard. But one of the things about it is people like just drive themselves crazy with test kits, like with the API ammonia kit, and they're just like, oh my god, you know, I can't get it to read 0. You know, it's kind of just a light tinge of green in there. So, you know, what's going on? What's wrong with my kit? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? And I mean, a lot of the people in the forums will like tell them, oh yeah, you need to start doing daily water changes and all this other junk. And it's like, okay, first of all, there's a big misunderstanding of how about ammonia toxicity. Okay, it takes a lot more than a 0.25 parts per million reading to be toxic to begin with. Now, ammonia toxicity is like almost completely dependent on your pH and your temperature. So, like as you go below 7, like nearly all the ammonia in the tank is going to be non-toxic. And as you lower the temperature, it also renders it less toxic. But apart from that, even at a normal, let's say 7.4, 7.6 tank at 78 or 80 degrees, 0.25 ammonia is not enough to damage your fish. And there's a lot of people that spread around this idea. I mean, like, and not just new people, but like, you know, people that have been in this for a long time that just parrot this information that, you know, any level of ammonia in your tank is toxic and that it's killing your fish or it's hurting your fish or whatever. But it's just simply not true. It's not accurate. And, you know, I get the part of them just being cautious, and that's cool to be cautious, but at least try to be accurate, because, you know, when people learn better and actually study it up on their own or whatever, you know, and they learn, they're like, oh, well, this isn't true at all, so these people don't know what they're talking about, you know. So that's how it ends up, and that's why I hate this best practices type thing that people do, because, you know, it's cool to teach best practices, to say this is what it would do as a best practice, but you can't do it in a way to where it's like a witch hunt against something that's not even true. And that's the way that it gets done, unfortunately, a lot of times. So I wanted to just talk about that, and I'm going to put an ammonia chart up on the screen here. And this kind of shows you toxicity and how toxicity works. And the yellow is when you start getting close to the danger zone. When you're in the red, that is when your fish are definitely being affected by the ammonia. And I mean, I'm going to already assume that most of you guys know what the effects of ammonia poisoning are and all that, and that, you know, they're permanent in a lot of cases. You know, ammonia burns are permanent on gills, and fish can have breathing problems for the rest of their lives because of it. So it's something you don't want to play around with. But at the same time, it's also something you shouldn't, like, you know, you shouldn't be burning it at the stake just because you don't really understand how it works type thing, for me. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. So there is a threshold that you can have, and also what I want to talk about with the API kit especially, Mario Red, what I want to talk about with the API kits especially is that it's inaccurate. Like, it's not way off, but it does have some variance, and there is a level of, you know, it's not an exacting science. Like, it's a color shading liquid salicylate test, you know, thing that it doesn't differentiate between harmful ammonia and the non-harmful form, which is ammonium, which is NH4+, versus the unionized form, the NH3, which is ammonia. It doesn't differentiate between the two. When it reads your ammonia reading, it reads your total ammonia reading of the two combined. The two that form up that make total ammonium nitrogen they're always in equilibrium with each other, like depending on your pH and your temperature. So as your pH goes up over 7, more of the ammonia that's in the solution will become NH3. But as your pH drops below 7, and as it goes down, more of the ammonia turns into ammonium. So it just kind of goes back and forth depending on where you're sitting at. That's why you can't really give a hard number and say, oh, well, 0.25 is killing your fish. It's just, I mean, it's inaccurate, and it's just not very intelligent. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be like an ivory tower stickler about it, but at least, you know, I just dislike it when people try to, you know, claim like an expert title or whatever, and they don't know what they're talking about, you know. And it's like, okay, anybody that has even studied this a little bit, has looked at like just a few papers on it, can understand this, you know. So, but the problem is a lot of your people that are in forums don't do that. Like, they come into the forum and, you know, they come there for help, or they come there because they're new, or whatever, they're just taught differently. And so they believe these people because they've got a high post count or whatever, and it's just, I mean, it's just, and it repeats the cycle, because they say, oh, well, this guy's been saying this for, you know, forever, and all these people have been bandwagoning on and saying the same thing, so it must be right, and it's just not right. So I've always been on a quest to kind of change the status quo if I feel like it's off for whatever reason. And even if it is something small and nitpicky, it just feels like it just needs to be corrected, so that, you know, so that overall in the community there can be like a new awareness of what, you know, of what things actually are accurately. So that's really all I had to say about it. I mean, and what it leads to is the fish in versus fishless cycle thing. And we'll talk more about that in my next video, because it really, I believe fish in cycling gets demonized a lot. So I wanted to talk about that. So, alright guys, take care.